In 1952, Encyclopedia Britannica published one of its most popular series ever. It was called The Great Books of the Western World. It's about 53 volumes of compilation. And I remember as a young student studying, more of a professor in New York at that time, walking past the bookstores and wishing so much I could buy that series. But I kept waiting and waiting till it went on sale, and one day it did. And today it sits at the top shelf of one of my sections there, The Great Books of the Western World. 53 volumes. The first two volumes are entitled Syntopicon. It combines two words, the synthesis of topics. What does it mean? The way the books are distributed, the first two volumes deal with themes, great themes: history, philosophy, law, ethics, God, in the first two volumes. Then in the remaining 51 volumes, those very themes are covered by the great writers of the Western world. So if you read the essay on law and you want to know what Augustine said about law, you'll turn to the 18th volume on Augustine and see his section on law. Great themes covered as topics, great writers, and how they covered them. The chief editor is a man by the name of Mortimer Adler, one of the brightest minds in America, a latecomer to Christ, Jewish scholar, a latecomer to Jesus Christ. And Mortimer Adler, years ago, was being interviewed by Larry King on CNN. And Larry King looked at him and said, "Mr. Adler, I was looking at the themes of the great books of the Western world, and the longest essay is on God. You've covered great themes, but the longest essay is on God. Can you explain that?" Mortimer Adler just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Larry, because more consequences for your life follow from that one issue than any other issue you can think of. More consequences for your life follow from what you believe or disbelieve about God." And that's absolutely right. You are here today and cannot deny that statement. Your belief or disbelief in God defines everything else you do. If you believe and trust in God, your language, your giving, your behavior, your ethics, you may not always live consistently with it, but your guilt or fulfillment comes on how you think about God. I believe it was the famed C.S. Charles Haddon Spurgeon who put it in these words: "The proper study of the Christian is the Godhead. It's the highest science, the loftiest speculation, the mightiest philosophy which can engage the attention of a child of God is the name, the nature, and the person, and the doings of the existence of this great God. There is something exceedingly improving to the mind in a contemplation of the divinity. It is a subject so vast that all our thoughts are lost in its immensity, so deep that our pride is drowned in its infinity. Other subjects we can comprehend and grapple with. In them we feel a kind of self-contentment and go on our way with the thought, 'Behold, I am wise.' But when we come to this master science, finding that our plumb line cannot sound its depth and that our eagle eye cannot see its height, we turn away with the thought, 'I am but of yesterday and know nothing.'" What Spurgeon is saying is that a large number of subjects in the world, you can walk away and say, "Boy, I know an awful lot about this." But when you put your plumb line to understand the doings and the person of God, you walk away saying, "I hardly know anything about this vast and grand theme." Stephen Hawking years ago wrote a book called The Brief History of Time. And he goes through all of the intricacies of how he sees the origin of the universe. And in the last paragraph, he says this: "I have now told you what. If I could tell you why, I would know the mind of God." It'd have to take the mind of God to explain the why life exists, why we are here in the first place. That is the exhaustive subject